Hello sea stars, it's Jessie. Welcome back to my channel. I want to apologize immediately for the changing in the lighting. We're going between sun and clouds all day today, and it's definitely showing in this very bright room. We are joined by Luna, who is clearly just so excited to be here. Today's video is one that I'm actually really excited for. It was actually recommended by one of you guys down in the comment section. And this is what I mean when I say, please give me any recommendations that you want to see, because I love your ideas and I love making videos that you guys actually want to see. So today's video is going to be one of those. Specifically, they asked if I could talk about mermaids in media. And oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about where that subject is concerned. I feel like people have been putting mermaids in movies and TV shows for years now, basically like since the invention of the television. And long before media, they were in folk tales, creation myths. Did you know that almost every single creation myth has something to do with water? Because without water, there would not be us, so it really goes hand in hand. So we're going to be talking about mermaids in media. We're also going to be talking a little bit about some of the mythology that they might have pulled on, or some of like the folklore stereotypes of mermaids that these producers of these shows might have used in their creation of their mermaids. Basically, I'm just going to kind of be breaking down my thoughts on each of these shows, if they're worth the watch in my opinion. So without any further ado, let's just dive right in, and we're going to start with the TV shows. Kicking it right off with H2O, Just Add Water. Classic, no notes. That's it. Just everyone needs to see it. I'm totally kidding. I have some notes, but they're all basically good. This is usually one of about 3 cases, I would say, that people refer to or have in their mind when someone asks them if they want to play mermaids. H2O Just Add Water is a Nickelodeon show that was set in Australia, and it is about 3 ordinary girls who just happen to be mermaids. And it kind of talks about the trials and tribulations of balancing their newfound powers with all of the complexities of growing up and being teenage girls. It's so heartwarmingly classic. It's funny. They've got really good love stories. They've got really good friendship stories. It's just overall like a beautiful show. And I think that they did the right thing about really capping it off at 3 seasons and not dragging it out long. They did do a sequel series, Mako Mermaids, which was also good, but H2O is literally just like the standard classic. I don't think anything could really top it, but I do like that they expanded upon the lore in the show in Mako Mermaids instead of try to recreate what was already perfection, in my opinion. I actually highly remember, not even when the show came out, I remember when the trailer for the show came out, my little like, oh god, how old was I when the show came out? I was like 6 or 7, I want to say, and like my little like mermaid heart just exploded. I ran into my mom's room. I was like, Mom, they're making a show about mermaids! And she was like, oh, that's great, honey. Like, not phased at all. In terms of the lore and mythology, they do touch on some things. They said that mermaids, in folklore, mermaids could influence the weather, different weather patterns. I don't know about the powers over the water for sure, so Cleo's is probably the most accurate. I don't know about fire and ice, and the jelly was definitely a creative addition to the show. Like, if you are interested in mermaids, if you want a good, just fun, classic show, you need to watch this one. Moving on to Sirens. Now, Sirens premiered quite a few years ago now. I think I was in college around the time it came out. Say college? When did it premiere? No, Google, I do not want the 2025 Sirens. Although actually, I haven't seen it yet. Should we do like a live reaction to that on Patreon? Let me know, because I think that would be kind of fun. 2018. Okay, so I was in college. All right, that's good to know my timeline. Yeah, so Siren came out in 2018, and it promised like everything about the dark aspects of sirens and mermaids. It was very much Twilight for mermaids, I would say, is the best way to describe it, especially because, if I'm not mistaken, it also took place on the West Coast, so very similar vibes. I'm gonna be honest, I saw a few episodes of the show And it was okay. It was intriguing. It had a few of the elements that I liked, but I'm not really a fan of high tension, high stakes drama to begin with, so it was hard to hold my attention personally. Sometimes the show took too long to get to its point. Like, there was a little too much mystery, if that makes sense. It was okay. As far as the mythology went, it was pretty accurate to like the siren song, and they did play a lot on those elements, which I thought was really interesting. I think you're gonna find throughout this video that a lot of my mermaid like favorites stem from my childhood as like core memories, which is totally fine, but you know, take all of this with a grain of salt. It was very interesting. If you like the darker aspects of like mermaids and sirens, and you really might enjoy this show, but for me, it just didn't like hit the buttons that I wanted to. I try to explain this to my sister when she asks why I don't like Outlander, because I really tried to give it a chance. It had a lot of the elements of what I was looking for, but it just didn't hit the mark, and I'm not exactly sure what would have to change for it to hit the mark, but it didn't, and she'll never let me live it down. Anyways, Siren, decent show overall, just didn't hold my attention enough to keep going with it. And that is honestly the end for the TV shows that I have seen. I know that there's a lot more I need to watch. I would love to do a live reaction of some of these episodes with you guys on Patreon. My Patreon, if you didn't know, I am starting it back up again. I got literally so many requests to do so, and I'm so sorry that it has been delayed in getting back to you guys, but I wanted to make sure that I came back with something that was fun and enjoyable for both you to witness and for me to create, and I think I finally hit that happy medium. And one of the things I really wanted to do is reactions to mermaid things, mermaid content, and like kind of more of a close interactive circle of people who love the ocean, love mermaids, love witchcraft, and want a place where everything is combined. And you can talk to someone who lives and breathes that shit every single day. So that'll be launching on September 1st. So by the time you see this, depending on how fast I get it edited, it might actually already be out. So you can go ahead and subscribe to that. There are no like gap limits. Everyone is invited. I also offer an author Patreon on that side. There's a tier specifically if you want writing tips, if you want to know how I wrote my books, my inspirations for things, deleted scenes, stuff that I honestly have accumulated so much of in my process of being an author and becoming published and things like that. I'll even share some publishing tips if you guys are interested in doing the self-published route, like things that I have honestly wanted to share for a while but just don't know how to like put it out into the ether for you guys to actually see. And on the witchcraft side of things, you'll get spell work, live reactions, we'll do some Q&As every once in a while, live rituals. Like, I've got a whole thing set up for this. I'm so excited to see where it goes, and I hope you guys join me for the ride. That being said, yes, there's quite a few mermaid TV shows that I have not gotten the chance to watch. I don't consume a lot of media these days, like movies, TV shows. It has to really, really grab my attention. Otherwise, I'm just not gonna get into it because I frankly don't have the time these days. That's kind of the long and the short of it. But Tidelands did interest me. There was also another one, I think it was a movie, or maybe it was a series. I think it was called Sea Change or something like that. Like, I've been wanting to watch those. They've been on my TBW, not TBR, TBW, for like a while. So I think a Patreon would be really, really good to do like a live reaction to those and get your opinions on them. So if you do want to see that, let me know in the comments. Next, though, we are going to be jumping into movies, and of course we're going to be starting off with a classic just to get it out of the way, and that would be The Little Mermaid. Based on the book by Hans Christian Andersen, The Little Mermaid follows the story of the Little Mermaid. She actually isn't named in the Hans Christian Andersen story. Ariel was Disney's own making and creation. She falls in love with the prince, and in the Disney version, she gets her happily ever after, which is fantastic. You'll find that as you compare Disney's movies to their real life story inspirations and or counterparts, the less of a happily ever after they actually seem to have. Ariel is also another classic that I think that people imagine when someone asks, hey, do you want to play mermaids? They're like, oh yeah, like Ariel, do like the hair flip thing in the pool, which if you've ever actually tried to do that, it's hard. It is not easy. Ariel is such a classic example of a mermaid, but also at the same time contributes a lot of miscommunication to what working with mermaids on a spiritual level is actually like. Because 9 times out of 10, they might be curious about humans, but in their mythology, a lot of them started off as humans. So a lot of the times it's not so much, I wanna be where the people are. It's more, I want to be where the people aren't, and honestly, that is so valid. So valid. The movie itself, it's so good. It's such a classic. And I know what you might be thinking. Jessie, what did you think of the live action? Okay. I am going to go on this rant once and then never again. If anyone in the future ever asks me, Jessie, what did you think of the live action? I will play them the following clip, and I hope that they will understand. They fucked up Eric's character so bad. So bad. I do not hear enough people talking about this. I had some other minor technical gripes with the movie. Like, I will never forgive them for not giving Hallie the gorgeous sparkly dress that she absolutely deserved. And only on that matter, giving her one dress, criminal, jail. But what they did to Eric's character pissed me off so much, because it was like such a tease. They were doing so well with his character development. They gave him his own song. They expanded on his backstory. They made him so much less of a 2D character than his 2D character. They built him up as someone that was so inspirational and a leader and someone who wanted to pursue knowledge and explore and expand, and that was fantastic. All of that was amazing. But then when it came time for him to fulfill his role as an actual like Disney prince, they had to femboss the shit out of it and throw all of that character development right into the freaking whirlpool that Ursula created. The entire point that King Triton was trying to make in both movies was that humans could not be trusted because they were dangerous and selfish beings. King Triton is absolutely correct. However, at the end of the movie, Eric's rescuing of Ariel proves to King Triton that not all humans are bad. By putting himself in life-threatening danger, he proves that humans deserve a chance, and it helps to heal the relationship between humans and merfolk. And it basically was enough for King Triton to grant his blessing for Ariel to marry the man in the first place. But because Disney is on some kind of kick now to make their female characters do even more work in the name of feminism, which that's not feminism. We get to basically see Ariel do the exact same thing that she already did earlier in the movie. The only difference is Eric is just dangling from a rope. Like, he is literally just dangling from a rope, like twice. I remember watching the scene, my mouth was open. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. You work on a ship. You work on a ship. You spend so much of your time sneaking out, going onto the ship, sailing when your parents don't want you to, and you live and breathe ships, and you're telling me that a rope has you by the ankle and you can't climb your way up and actually like get a grip on the... And I don't want to hear, oh, the whirlpool, storms, like rough seas. He knows how to work his way around a rope when it's on his ankle, like, no. Quick message to Disney, if you do happen to listen to this. Firstly, please stop making live actions. We're done. We're so done. And second, for any future movies that you do want to make, especially revolving around mermaids, it is okay for the guy to actually like step up to the plate and do something. It doesn't take agency away from the girl to have the guy actually do something in the relationship, okay? I will never not rant about this subject. They were so close. And it would have been my second favorite live action. Cinderella is always gonna be the top one. The first one that they did, they should have quit while they were ahead. And they were so close with The Little Mermaid. Like, but I cannot overlook how glaringly horrible that decision was. The crazy thing is, in a lot of mermaid mythology, they chose the sea because the guy wasn't doing enough, or he was doing too much of the wrong thing. Or sometimes the guy would be the one to throw the girl into the sea in the first place. Like, do you see where I'm going with this? We don't need to ruin our favorite childhood movies by being slapped in the face with the reality that, like, hey, actually as women, you have to do everything by yourself, but it's okay because you can. We know we can. We shouldn't have to. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's move on. The Mermaids in Pirates of the Caribbean 4 is the next movie that actually comes to mind in this, and I petition to make Philip an official Disney prince for the reasons that I just stated. Did I just go on a huge rant about Disney? Yes, I did. However, I believe that this movie actually came out before what people call like the wokeification of Disney. So it was actually still pretty good. They actually threw a lot of really cool mermaid lore into the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Obviously the classic legs in the water, or fins in the water, legs out of the water. The attraction to light was really cool as well. I don't know how much of it is actually steeped in real folklore. There are some things that they definitely took pieces on in terms of like how to summon mermaids and then like added their own mix to it. I've heard stories of mermaids being summoned with combs, but light was something that I hadn't heard before, which was really interesting. Hi, Editing Jessie here. Just wanted to quickly pop in and say they also do touch upon the immortality aspects of mermaids in this, specifically, obviously with the trope of the Fountain of Youth, which is steeped in sea witchcraft and water witchcraft in general. I actually just pulled out a book, which is Witched Waters, that talks a lot about holy wells like the Fountain of Youth. They also talk about how a mermaid's kiss can save a sailor from drowning, which is steeped in a couple of traditional folklore stories, so I want to mention a few of those as well. It's been a while since I've actually seen this movie, but in doing all this research for it, I actually want to rewatch it because it was a really good one. Anyways, back to the video. Also, the beautiful faces out of the water, the hideous monster, like scary like teeth and claws like within the water was also really cool and something that I really liked Disney for doing. I think they did a fantastic job with those mermaids. Actually, I would highly recommend that movie. This next one you've definitely heard of if you love mermaids. It is also one of the other movies that people reference when they ask you if you want to play mermaids, and that is Aquamarine. Aquamarine was such just a childhood staple of all of ours. Whenever like we harken back to Mermaid and like beachy nostalgia, we hear Weezer Island in the Sun playing, you know, we hear like the shell phone, we see like, you know, the aesthetics of the movie. It was just so well done. If you didn't know, it's actually based off of a book. I have not had the chance to read the book. I'm pretty sure that it was a very faithful adaptation. I've never heard any complaints from anyone, unless you also haven't read the book, but it's just so cute and classic, and they make the perfect nautical nods with like the shell phone, the toe and finger scales, the drinking of the salt water or putting salt in the ice cream, and she's eating fish food, Ben and Jerry's. Like, you just can't beat it. I think the message about love and friendship is super timeless as well. And also a really cool thing that I forgot to mention with H2O, they have this concept of a trio with the three girls in H2O. Actually, I think Ricky even makes a specific reference to them being a trio, and there is the trio with Haley, Claire, and Aquamarine. I don't know if the creators or the producers of the show and the movie actually realized this, but the number 3 is really sacred in water magic. Any like division of 3s, 3s, 6s, 9s, like all of those are very sacred in water magic. The 3s also make the elemental symbol for water, which is the upside down triangle. So I don't know if it was intentional or not, but that was a really cool thing that I rediscovered upon watching this movie again after being in water magic courses and studying this on a spiritual level. I don't know exactly how much mermaid mythology was accurately portrayed in Aquamarine. Do I think it matters? No, but I do think it is important to note that there is a difference between spiritually working with mermaids from like, you know, folklore, mythology, things like that, or trying to do what some people do nowadays, which is work more with, I think the term is like pop fiction spirit or something like that. It is a common thing for a lot of practitioners nowadays to reach out to the spirit of something that is created, because it is a belief that when something is created, it kind of takes on what is called like an egregore. The spirit of that movie is so classically ingrained that it is entirely possible to connect with mermaids that are like her, to connect with her. on a spiritual level, but there is definitely a difference that you should be cautious of. Like the mermaid spirits that I work with definitely do not give Aquamarine vibes whatsoever, and that's fine. It's just important to know the distinction. The one thing that they do touch on again, which they mentioned in H2O, which I love the overlapping parallels as well, was that Aquamarine said that her dad could make some serious waves, control the weather, and that is very standard with mermaid folklore. Okay, now we're gonna move on to some obscure ones that you may or may not have heard of. These are all within the movie genre as well. The first one is called Fishtail. Okay, if you haven't seen this one, it is really cute and very silly at the same time, but I do think it's a really good one to put on your list. It is set in Greece. Basically, this professor is working on a thesis or a paper or something along those lines, and he takes his daughter with him to Greece, and his daughter uncovers this whole story and like history of the past that involves, they call her a Nereid, but Nereids are another term for mermaids as well, specifically oceanic spirits, and there are also oceanids, Nereids, and naiads. Naiads are freshwater, Nereids are, believe that in between place between land and sea, and oceanids are more deep ocean dwelling spirits to my remembrance. But the whole vibe is stunning. The tail on this mermaid was just absolutely stunning to die for. Hi, editing Jessie chiming in again. I forgot to mention that there are certain mermaid tropes within this movie that I really did like the concept of mermaids only having legs for a certain amount of time, whether that is dependent on the tides or the phases of the moon or things like that. There is also the classic trope of mermaids falling in love with humans, leading them to make drastic life decisions, which typically is what you see in movies like this and across folklore, so I want to throw that in there as well. It also has one of the best, most obscure movie soundtracks that I have ever heard. I loved all of the songs in this movie, but I cannot find them anywhere except like YouTube and SoundCloud. So weird, but really good. Next one up is The King's Daughter. It's one of the newer ones, and it was really cute. I actually really loved it. My mom was obsessed with it. We watched it like 3 times. It's what I would call a period piece that doesn't conform to a period piece. Like, none of the costumes really align with the period. The music absolutely does not align with the period. They use a lot of modern songs in what is supposed to be like King Louis XIV era France. But honestly, even with all that in mind, I think it just works for this movie. I think this movie knows exactly what it was trying to be and did it perfectly. They don't dive in too much about like mermaid mythology, but they do actually touch upon the immortality rumors and aspects of mermaids, which I thought was really cool. And one other thing I thought was kind of interesting was that the King's Daughter, the main female character in this movie, is actually played by the girl who played the female main lead in the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean movie, so I liked the overlap there. Overall, it was just a really cute and classic love story, and you know I love to write those as much as I love to read and see them, so I would definitely recommend checking that one out. Next one up is The 13th Year. Do you guys remember the peak era of Disney Channel original movies? Because I do, and it was this year, and it was 1998, and it was the year I was born. And then it was all downhill from there. I feel like I can confidently say that this is one of the only movies I have ever seen that talks about mermen. And it's done in that classic like Disney middle school, high school, coming of age type of setting, but it's still done so well. They have their own mythology and lore that Disney created for the movie, as well as, like I said, some overlapping things from folklore. I don't know how much they accurately played upon the traditional folklore, but it was a really cool story nonetheless. And I think that's one of the really cool things about mermaids in general and why they're so popular in media, because there's a lot of ambiguity around mermaids. There's a lot of different versions and variations of myth. There are overlapping discussions of what they are and aren't capable of. It's just really cool to have such a diverse opinion about one kind of spirit, and none of them are wrong. I'd argue that you could honestly make a case for anything involving mermaids within reason. So as these stories have been created over the years, the layers upon layers of mermaid myth just continue to blossom. And I think Disney at the time kind of recognized that, and they added their own nuance to this story, and they really built and expanded upon the myth of mermaids in a very interesting and creative way that still had that touch of Disney magic. Next one is The Secret of Rowan Inish, and I was talking with someone in my comment section about this movie recently, and I actually haven't seen it in years. I would actually love to do a commentary of The Secret of Rowan Inish on my Patreon. I think I will be doing that, but it's actually not about mermaids per se, but it's about selkies. It's a period piece. Do you remember that? They were very accurate to the period and the music. It's all Irish, and it was very like authentic to what it was trying to be. There were a couple of fantastical elements that I remember from it, but again, it was hard. I think the storyline itself, I couldn't follow along with it, but I was also really young when I saw that movie. It was definitely like, it had to be more than 10 years ago when I first watched it, and I was like expecting to see selkies popping out of the water every few minutes, and I didn't really understand the complexities of the story of selkies. And now, knowing so much more from a spiritual perspective, I actually really want to dive back in to that movie. So I think we're gonna do a live reaction to that, and I'll post that on my Patreon because that would be really cool to rewatch with you guys. I know someone mentioned that they wanted to see me react to The Shape of Water, or like give my opinions on The Shape of Water. I've never seen it. I actually thought it was so funny because I only checked it out because one of the first 1-star reviews I'd ever gotten on my book, The Turning Tides, was that someone said it was like the Wish.com version of The Shape of Water. And I remember reading it and being like, what is The Shape of Water? So I went to look up the trailer and I was like, oh, okay. I see where you got that, but also like, Wish.com, really? And I thought it was funny because if I had taken inspiration from any of the movies on these lists, of which I did draw quite a few inspirations from, specifically like, not the movie itself, but more like the folklore that was already embedded in that movie. But if I took inspiration from any movie, it would be this one, and that is Splash. Splash is probably one of the most unique retellings of The Little Mermaid that I have seen in a long time. I don't know if it actually set off to be a retelling of The Little Mermaid, but it has a lot of the same elements, only there's no sea witch, there is no great battle between humans and merfolk. In fact, you actually don't get a lot of information about the mermaid side at all because it focuses more so on the male love interest and the mermaid entering his life in New York City. If you love mermaids and you haven't seen this movie, you need to, and then I need you to immediately read The Turning Tide so you can be like, oh, I see what she did there. Because if you're gonna say that my books are the Wish.com version of anything, I think it should at least be the movie that I actually took inspiration from. So yeah, that is everything that is currently on my list. I'm actually really excited to watch The Secret of Rowan Inish now. I think I might sit down and start that and get it up to Patreon. And yeah, if you guys want to follow along with all of the fun things that are going to be going on that little shoreline of the internet, I will leave the information down below for you. If you guys want me to review any of the mermaid shows where you're like, no, Jessie, you need to see this, and like, I need to hear your opinion on it, please let me know. Or if you want me to do any other topics here on my YouTube channel, also please let me know. I love, love, love to take your guys' suggestions. I love to connect with you. So that is everything for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm so sorry about my many rants about Disney, but I have feelings and I need to share them. So yeah, that is everything for today, and I will see you soon. Bye, sea stars.